Hi, my name's Kathy, and I'm sharing some memories of the Northridge earthquake. Um, at that time, I was living in Northridge, very close to the Cal State Northridge campus, um, and I was 5.5 months pregnant. The evening before, my husband and I had gone to see a movie, In the Name of the Father, which happened to be about a bombing. And so when the earthquake hit and woke us up at 4:30 in the morning, I literally said, "Bomber earthquake, bomber earthquake," and my husband said that it was an earthquake. But um, I remember him saying that it felt to him like someone had picked up the house and just slammed it down. I don't I don't remember how long it went on, um, but it was terrifying. Again, I was very pregnant. My husband, who's a big guy, he threw himself across me, and he said the dog threw himself across him. So we just sort of rode it out, I guess. I do remember feeling no, I my eyesight's not very good, so I couldn't see much, but I was feeling this grit on the bed, and very aware that a plant must have fallen over, and then realized maybe a day or so later there was no plant; it was the ceiling. So it was pieces of the ceiling were sort of on us from on the bed. Um, so that morning, I mean, after we, I guess, figured out what had happened, we went outside, and the sun was starting to come up after a bit. It was pretty dark at first. We had some neighbors across the street who had also come out, brought lawn chairs out, and they had a radio, and so we were able to sort of get some news. But it was very confusing. I mean, it was really, I think no one had understood the scope of it, the magnitude of it. But we sat out and talked to our neighbors and started to see like different neighbors' children arrive to check on them. But there was one house, actually our neighbors, but we were across the street at that point. Our neighbors, no one had come out, and so after a while, we all just started to notice that Dan and Ann had not come out of their house. So my husband went over. I don't know how he got into the house, but he found out that a bookcase in their hallway had fallen, and they could not get out of their bedroom. So they would have been trapped in there if none of us had noticed. Um, and then I remember after that, just again sitting around for a long time. There were fires, like you could see fires in the distance. I think transformers or something were hitting things and starting fires. Um, and then yeah, we didn't have electricity for days and days. So maybe 3 days, maybe 4 days. And it's when we started to get to know our neighbors, because we all started barbecuing all of the meat that had been frozen in our freezers. Not all of it, but trying to rescue as much as we could. So I remember eating a lot of meat at the time. Um, and then it was I guess a process of just doing what you could in the house and running back outside when there were aftershocks. I do remember that day, later in the day, I think we just didn't know what to do. So we decided to drive around, and we ended up at an In-N-Out. And I think they were in the same situation. I think In-N-Out famously does not freeze their meat, so they needed to use it. So they were the one restaurant open for miles and miles and miles, and a lot of people were there. And actually, there were news vans there too, I think, realizing that that's where they could find people to interview. Um, and it just seemed really odd to me. I thought, well, isn't there anything else going on in the world that needs to be reported on? But again, had no idea of the magnitude or scope or what had happened all over the city, county. Um, let's see.
It was a weird feeling that you felt like it just happened to you in your neighborhood, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it felt like it had just happened to us. We didn't have a way of knowing how far out it had gone. So it seemed really strange that the news cared that much. It was just an earthquake. I mean, that's what we thought at the time. And the phones, I remember that we couldn't call I'm from the East Coast, and my husband's from all over. But we had a lot of relatives on the East Coast. We, for some reason, couldn't get through to them. They couldn't get through to us. But a friend had called, I think from like Orange County, and we gave him numbers so that he could, phone numbers, so that he could call our family and let them know we were okay. And then he called us back to let us know that he had let them know that we were okay. So that was odd, and I don't remember how long that went on for before we could actually reach anybody on the East Coast, or and not even Midwest, Minnesota. But that was weird. It was, I think it was kind of a blur. I know that I checked in with my work, but there had been a lot of damage to our building at work, so I didn't need to worry about going to work, which was good because there was plenty to do at home. Just trying to clean up. At one point, probably a week later, 2 weeks later, when we started to realize how badly our house had been damaged, we borrowed a little camper from some friends, and we lived in our driveway in the camper for not very long, maybe a week. I was pretty pregnant and pretty uncomfortable in the camper, and I didn't really want to do that forever. But yeah, there was a lot of work. There was FEMA money. One of the first things I know we had to do was replace the water heater. But then toilets, at least one toilet needed to be replaced. Doors needed to be replaced. There was glass everywhere. I don't know if this is, I had made cream of broccoli soup at one point, and it was in the refrigerator, and the refrigerator had come open, and so there was this green soup everywhere in the kitchen, which was just kind of funny, but awful. And then my husband had a big wine cooler, big storage thing, whatever, closet, I don't know what you call it. Anyway, and luckily something had rolled across the floor and stopped the door from opening, or we would have not just lost wine, but that would have been a terrible mess to have wine all broken all over the place. We did discover, this was a house built in the 50s, I think, and I'm jumping forward, but when we did have to have the whole house repaired, renovated, everything, we did discover that there was asbestos in the floor of one room, so we had to have this hazmat team come in, and I think we moved out for a couple of days then as well, just to make sure. I have a lot of memories, but another one was that just after my daughter was born, so again, I was 5.5 months pregnant then, so 6 months later, I just remember holding her, and there would still be aftershocks, because I remember the two of us, I'm holding her, and the two of us are looking at each other, like. So yeah, the aftershocks went on for a long time, months. So those are some of my main memories, probably the sharpest memories I have of that time. It was not a great time.